So anyway, what I'm going to do is we're going to get on with the show. And this afternoon, what's going to be a little bit different, we were talking more about really looking at the macro level of arts education and what's happening, right? And we did go a little bit into the micro, when you heard individually what people were doing, right? Now we're going to look in the micro level. Now we're going to take a look at what happens to people who are teaching artists, who went through our training program, by the way, and what they're doing, and give you a good feel for that. So that's how we're going to start. I am going to moderate this portion of the afternoon. Get my notes. And I just would like to introduce our speakers, our panelists. And I will start out with Robin Parrish. You want to come on up here? Robin Parrish is co-founder, you can see it right there, managing director and teaching artist, Ecstatic Dance LA. And we also have Phyllis Bancroft, founder, artistic director, and teaching artist, Red Balloons Playroom. And, of course, Ariane Johnson, a one and only, unique founder, artistic director, and teaching artist, and she's, I said founder, I read the wrong one, teaching artist and faculty, Pasadena City College and Studio School, and lots more, because I know you do a lot of different work. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to ask some questions. I want to speak right offhand, though, about the teaching artist program that we do. We do a program that we accept 15 to 16 people, probably 15, based on people that are really ready to do this. And it's really focused on people learning about the standards and also learning about, when I say that, the core standards that you need to have be aligned with when you go into a school system, right? Plus VAPA, which goes into more the performing arts and all of those standards as well. And we have a wonderful trainer. I don't know if she's in the room right now. Is Kimberly here? She's not in the room right now, but Kimberly Arn is our trainer for that program and created a really wonderful curriculum. So that's going to be starting in September 9th. And so what we're doing right now is just letting you know that's coming up. I'll tell you more about it a little bit later. But all three of our teaching artists here have gone through that program, 2 of them in 2016 and 1 of them in 2017. So we're going to spend a little time with these 3 really amazing people and give you a sense of what their experience is like and what it means to really be a teaching artist day to day and make it work for yourself, because it does become a gig, in some ways, right? You guys know about the gig economy, and we're all really very much a part of that. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just have each of you just tell a little bit, just briefly, share briefly your trajectory as an entertainment or performing arts professional that led you to becoming a teaching artist. So that gives a little sense of where you're each coming from in that way. So why don't we start with you, Ariane?
So I'm a native New Yorker. My parents are both artists. So my dad's a visual contemporary artist and my mom was a dancer. Mm-hmm. So being an artist was just, I was birthed into it, but you don't know if the gifts pass down. Trust me, I know, I have 2 kids. But they're gifted, I'm sorry, they are gifted. No, my little one goes to Debbie Allen, yes. Okay, anyway, so about me, this is about me, right? So my philosophy as an artist is it's about giving, right? So I've always taught as far as I remember. So I started dancing professionally when I was 13. So in New York, there's third, second, first class companies. Obviously, it was third 4th, 17th class company, which means basically you might not get paid for rehearsal, you might not get paid for a gig, you might not, whatever. So you go up the ladder. So I started teaching sort of right away with some of the masters that I got to dance with, like Diane Harvey and Abdel. So these people are dance concert world, divos and divas. So I began tandemly teaching with them as an assistant or whatever, and I just began to do it, and after school. And so I never had some separate life of this is my artist life and this is my teaching life. It was just I'm an artist and I give. And so I get back the exchange as that artistic expression. As us as artists, it is not fun just to do it for you. You could do that in the mirror at home, right? The connection is what drives us, the exchange, the communication through the arts. And I find that being the same for me as a teacher or an educator. And so that's my trajectory, I guess, what brought me there. I've always been doing it, so it's always been a part of me. Always tried to find different kind of communities to do it. So when I first began early childhood, and all the way up until middle school, was the demographics that I would teach, always. So when I finally got to high school and college and dealing with elders, I'm always looking for different communities because to share the gift, to share their exchange, because I believe in some sense we're all artists, we all have that's so cliche, a song to sing. That's so Happy
Sing
Feet,
it,
right?
sing it.
Right? That cartoon. Anywho, so but it's like our job to reflect, right? So our job to help instruct, help sort of maybe have someone else find their own thing. So that's basically, for me, how I became Ariane.
And what a wonderful way to get there, right? Okay. So, Phyllis, how about you?
Mine is a little different. I started as an actor many years ago, and I studied at Circle on the Square. I'm from the East Coast, and Boston University, and I started doing regional theater. And then I was like, wait, I was one of those actors who always had all the answers for the director. So I decided that I would start directing theater. And I just easily made that transition into directing theater. And it was really wonderful for me. And I was in New York, and I worked with a lot of performance artists and playwrights that were developing, and just really helping them to develop their stories and their craft. And I had some successful ventures with many of them. And then I was like, well, I really, really want to do film. So I moved to LA, and with $500 and a dream. And I started working in the studio system, and then eventually went back to school and got my master's. Actually, I left BU, and I went back to school before I went to film school to finish at Antioch and University of LA, which is a great place because their whole motto is about social justice. And I thought I was just going to finish my degree, but what I realized is that I am a giver, and I've always been, worked for nonprofits and done volunteer work, similar to Ariane, just always in a teaching way, even if I'm not labeled a teacher. So then I did go to film school. I had great success with my thesis project. It ended up on BET. I won a lot of money to do another film. And then as an artist, there was a time that I was just waiting. And I was thinking, wow, I've invested so much in just being an artist and learning how to direct and learning how to act. And I have all these skills, but I'm just sitting here waiting. This is ridiculous. So how can I use this in a way that's going to serve other people? And it just, ironically, that aha moment came around the time when I found out about the Teaching Artist Symposium. And ever since I did that symposium, things changed. And it's
She
been...
met me.
I met her. And we sat together in class the whole thing. So we became very good friends. And I met another really good friend in there. So it's also like really great networking. And I've hired people from the other person from the class. I will hire you too. But
Let me check my availability.
but anyway, that basically is my trajectory. I think that the Teaching Artist Symposium was the thing that shifted everything for me. And I'll get to like what happened after that, but I'll get to that. That's
Sure,
one of
no
the questions.
problem.
So.
It's funny, I just want to mention this because of what you were talking about. All of a sudden I was in this period of waiting, which we go through from time to time, and this woman said, I had to speak at a presentation for singers at SAG-AFTRA, and this woman said, that in the meantime, it can get awfully mean, for a while, and you just got that you want to take the mean out of meantime. So I really got that, and where you really don't know what's going to happen or how long you can keep doing this the way you're doing it and stay sustainable, right?
Can I just add too that I also wanted to have more control over what I create and be able to share it in a way with people that actually want to receive it. So that was really powerful for me.
Great, thank you.
Well said. Are you
Robin.
hiring people from the symposium, from the class afterwards as well? 2017, fresh?
After I get new
ready
funding,
to go?
yes.
My story is unique and different, as is all of us, which is the joy of all of this. So I was very lucky to grow up in a very artistic town in the Cotswolds in England. And theatre was just a way of life. I had a musical family, and I was always encouraged to go to theatre classes, and I just thought that's what we did, and that was great. We got to play, and just a lot of fun. I remember I used to go to this summer camp called Barnstorm, and it would be in the middle of what would look like Hobbitville with fields, and there was this village hall, and there was about 30 of us, and we would be there for a week, and we would camp, and we'd put all our tents in a circle, and we'd have theatre directors there, and stage designers and costume designers, and but the space would be empty. We didn't know what we were going to create. And we started with just a word, so that each summer was just a word. So for example, the last one that I remember, the word was Italy. So then on the first day, you start improvising around anything Italian. What does it bring about? Italian food, Italian words, and you'll get a set assignments. Oh, create a song about some Italian words, or that little improv you did, that was really great. So you've got this whole time, you have these directors who are taking notes. So the first 2 days, you do all these improv scenes, and as a kid, you're just having fun, and then we play these games in between. And then by day 3, the directors had written a whole play, including the music, and everything was about that little gem that you brought to that improv, or that little thing, and they fleshed it out, and then they gave you that part. And then on the Wednesday, you'd go home, and then you'd get your script, and you'd get your lines, and on the Thursday, and then we literally put up the show from the Thursday, and then the Friday, and then we have our first dress rehearsal Friday night, and then 2 performances on a Saturday. From nothing. And we're 11 to 16 years old. So what we accomplished. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I got to reflect on that. And I was like, that's magic. What we could accomplish in a week. And it was just, so I was just used to this level of creativity. You can create. So then whenever situations would occur in my life that were challenging, I'd always remember back at that. But this is easy. We put on a show in a week. I just got to do this today. That's fine. Put it in perspective. So I did a lot of theatre and played a lot of music. I went to a fantastic theatre school in England, the Guildford School of Acting, where 3 years of just intensive, 12 hours a day of just exploring life and exploring connecting to ourselves, connecting to our voice, connecting to everything. And I loved it. I felt so connected to the world and more to myself. And then, so that's what theatre was for me and is for me. And so through that, towards the end of that, we started doing theatre in education. And during those tours, I started to really see the impact of, wow, this comes very naturally to me, and I have a lot of value from this, but it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people because of where they've been exposed or where they've, the environment they've grown up in and things like that. So I very naturally started to be involved in community projects through theatre. And I found that energy that once was born out of just being in theatre and the fun of it, but it needed to go somewhere. So that's where teaching really came about. For me, and I've been working with children since the age of 16, and then 1 year ago, at the music center in downtown, I came to the Actors Fund Symposium. So I've been working at an elementary school in Burbank for about 4 years, assisting and co-creating a sort of an 8-week program for fourth graders. And then I got to go on the course, which really helped to flesh that out and for me to just step it up, basically, to the next level. So, and here we are. Yeah. Thank you.
I want to bring this up because I have a question that you guys have for number 2, which I'm going to go into, but I wanted to, because they've all seen their questions ahead of time. You didn't look at it, huh? Okay, that's okay. I think you'll be okay. There's nothing I'm asking you that you won't be able to answer. But I do want to ask you what it means to you to be part of a community with other people. You've all spoken to it in a way, but that whole idea of meeting up with other people that give you that aha moment, that give you that sense that I'm with my tribe, Now you can be an artist, but there's all different kinds of artists. So what might that look like for you? What does that mean to you to have community? I'm going to start with you, Robin, with that. To having community here, because I know you're going to go on a little bit more about you having your own business and doing all the wonderful things you do. But being able to be rooted with a community of other people that are doing this type of thing, what does that mean for you? Like when you were at the Symposium last year, why did that impact you so much?
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm from another country, and when I arrived here, I definitely felt, honestly, like a bit of an outsider. It was wonderful to watch this show, but I still felt a little bit outside. And then through having this feeling of theatre and what I wanted to do with it, and then what I was experiencing in the industry was just falling short of what I wanted to give. And so, honestly, I felt a little bit lost. And then that created insecurities, that created in like, oh, maybe it was just an idea and it doesn't have any value or purpose. And then, so went on my own way, but then, and sort of did okay and found my way, but like something really struck home last year about, it felt like family. It's like, wow, we all sincerely believe in this and the power of theatre and the power of the arts. And I might, in my day-to-dayness, sometimes forget it. But to be around people, be like, no, we're here, we're still here. We've got you. Like that little gem that you have, that little bit of magic, that uniqueness, that's what the world needs. And so you need people around you to, 1, remind you of that, and 2, to support you in the times where it's challenging, and 3, rise up together. And then the visions we have, they're not just words, they're not empty words, they get turned into action, and then you start to see it happening in the world, and there's nothing like that, seeing a dream that you've shared that's come from your heart, and to pursue that, and to see the impact that it has in other people's lives. So community, especially in a city where we're going to go off and we're going to drive into our own, we all come from very different parts of the town, and I feel, especially in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people look at Los Angeles for trends and for things that are going on, and so we need to keep together here so that what we're building is in integrity, and that we're all in it together, support each other. So that's a little bit about community for me.
Great.
Yeah.
How about for you, Phyllis?
Well, I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and in Hartford, like, I was a part of a community. Like, there was the church community, there was the school community, but everyone in my circle knew everyone else, so there was no room for error. So I really have an appreciation for it, and it was one thing too when I moved to LA. Even in New York, I felt like a real part of the theater community, because it's just so much love in that community and on the East Coast. But then LA, you know, I didn't immediately feel the love. But luckily, I had about 5 friends when I moved here, and that was my community, those 5 people who are still a part of my life. And what I've noticed, I've been here for like 23 years now, it's gone by so fast. What I've noticed is that you always have the opportunity to create the community, even if it doesn't exist, right? So, just like we moved in this neighborhood and no one really talked in the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden now everyone in the neighborhood, we're all best friends and we have parties together, you know. So I think I have a natural affinity towards, because I just want to know what people are doing. Like it's part of like being curious, like who are you? You live right there, you're right there. So I just need to know who you are, because you're really close. So, and also, what can I help you with, right? So that's always on my mind. And now that I'm in the school system, it's amazing because it took a minute to get through to a principal on the phone, but now, you know, I go to a different school every semester, and I was just going to one of the schools. I have to have this paper. I'm a partner with the LA-USD Arts Partnership, and every semester they give us a list, and we have to go down the list and contact those schools and get them to sign this paperwork, and then it has to be approved. So there's a process that I have to go through each semester in order to keep my program alive that way. And one of the things that was really magical this week that happened, I went back to a school that I was at the first semester, and they're back on the list. And this school had a school shooting earlier this year, and I wasn't there at the school. I wasn't teaching there at the time, so I went back. They're back on the list, and I was just like, you know, I don't know if your school will be approved, because even though you're on the list, you might not get approved, and we might not be able to do this. But I said, you know, one of the things I did was I started a nonprofit recently, because originally it was just me, but I thought, well, I don't want to just depend on one source of funding, so how can I expand that? And so I started a nonprofit. It's very new. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't raised any money. I'm putting a board together. It's really exciting. That's a whole nother community. But what I'm finding is that people are behind me. And so even when I went to talk to this principal, he said, well, if you're putting a board together, the students can help. Like, we can raise money. Like, they like to do that. We've raised money for cancer. And I was like, oh, well, here we are. Here it is, another community that unless you talk about it, and unless you ask, you really won't know that community, there's a whole school of kids and parents that want the program, and they're willing to do whatever they can, even if it's collecting pennies, to get you there. It's amazing. So community is very powerful. That's my answer. It's powerful.
Thank you. Carry on.
So I'm a New Yorker, so you just like birthed into a community, and then I'm a community of artists and a community of dancers, and then as God started to shift me and your gifts make room for you, and I began to act, I never felt lack of a community, right? So I came out to LA, I came out on a job which is a false sense of community, because I was on Bullworth, and that was like 6 months of shooting. So you don't feel the lack of until you step out of your little bubbles of whatever it is, right? So for me, I have appreciated along my journey community, because I had it already, right? And so then coming out here, and then I stayed here for a while. And then, you know, I don't know, it's the New York chutzpah or audacity. Like, I could get it done, whatever. I get 5, 6, 7, 8, what, you know, I do it by myself. I don't need you. Okay, watch this. What you say? You think I can't do it? So but then it gets a lonely journey, right? To do it by yourself, right? Then it's lonely then, I mean, it's good when you're doing your master's, your thesis, that's great. You got to be focused and writing that thing, right? But it still is a community. You have to find the community. You have to actively make that a part of your livelihood in a sense, like your essential bread, water. You could live off just those, but you also need community, right? So I have had a greater appreciation of community, which is important. For instance, okay, so I go way back with the Actors Fund. Because I'm from New York. So I went to New York and I did teaching artists there, and they had a program there, and I did that, and I taught in New York. Then I moved here. You're like, wow, all these bouncing around. There's reasons though, right? But then you come back, and then what they do in New York is different from California, right? So if I want to teach here, I want to know what they do here, because I'm in smart businesses. Well, what do you do here? So coming here was huge, because then I met her, right? Just in this, because I wrote a grant, and that's all writing, so that's all by yourself kind of thing, right? And my grant was about what I did for my thesis, so. I'm still on that journey of solo. There's other communities you have naturally, like the school community. If anybody's parents, oh my God, if anybody's here, parents, you have that parent. Oh, you gonna bring the cookies? Oh, I'm gonna be, you have that community. You have your church community. You have your artist community. Are you auditioning for this? Are you auditioning for that? or all those. But the teaching artist thing, right, is something that will help you. And keep you encouraged, because there was what did we do? There was something we did. I never even thought to do that. Phyllis said, let's write this together.
Oh, okay. Right? So what happened was we finished the program, and we found out about a grant, and we had a reunion or a graduation, and I ran into you and Sierra. And they were like, are you going to do the application? And I said, I looked at it, 75 pages. No, I'm not doing it. And they were like, we have to do it.
You can do this, girl. Come on. Like, what?
Yeah.
Come
and
on.
I was like, well, we have to, I want to come over to my table and just sit around the table and do it. And so we did. We did it together. We compared notes. We figured out the language. That was our little community.
Huge.
And it was huge for me, because I actually got the grant.
The grant.
but it was huge it was awesome. And the thing is, we all are still we have our own little community.
It was so beneficial, right? Just to because there's okay, so you go, she got the grant. What a blessing. That was for her, right? But the process of us coming together, sitting down, writing that thing together, flushing these ideas out, bouncing it off each other. Then what I had to tell our friend was, what are you kidding me? You have now the blueprint. Go to a school and bang, boom. I didn't get this one, but I could get this, So that was so beneficial, and so and that was.
Well, also for me, they had already. I just created my program in the class. I hadn't done this before. I had been a teacher and stuff, but I hadn't done my own program, and they had. And I was like, oh, guys, you're definitely gonna get it. I'm glad I had this experience, So it was really, it was powerful for all of us on different levels, right. And we would not have that experience had we been. Well, I'm gonna get the grant. I hope she doesn't get it because I want. If we had that. Outlook on it, it just wouldn't have happened, And we gained so much, and friendship, and a community, and other options. So now when we find out if there's someone that has money or a grant or opportunity, we just share it with each other, because that's what people in community do.
That thought process, though, is counteractive to community, right? So when you think you're in a community and they're afraid to share with you, then you're not really in a community, right? Oh no, did you hear about that? So all of that is all fake, and that's why you get to Los Angeles and you go, oh, okay, I have to find something that is going to be substantially supportive and for real supportive, right? And wish you well, because you doing well means eventually I'm going to do well, right? So that's my answer to
That's
that.
how we
That's
roll.
great. No, because I think it's really important to know. I'm from New York as well, and not originally from Ohio before that, but I ended up. I feel like I grew up in New York. But in New York, I always say that like that New York. You in LA, you can be really isolated for long periods of time if you're not on a job or whatever. God knows your brain becomes between your ears becomes a bad neighborhood, and right, doesn't it? So what happens? What happens is we have to really have that support around us and people around us to be able to get through what we need to get through. So I said, living in New York, God, you got people touching you don't want to have touching you, but at least there's it's like, but because you get on the subway or you get on, but there's a sense that you're connected to something, Here you're connected to a tin can and and traffic lights, and it's a different experience, right? So I want to move into. You've all been part of the Actors Fund program, our Teaching Artist Intensive, and they were actually different because we've grown it, like by the time you did it in 2017, Robin, it was different than what we were able to do. Like we did it in 5 days consecutively when you were doing it. Can you imagine doing that in 5 days consecutive? It's amazing anybody was still breathing. But it did create a real tight community because you kind of had to. So I just want to get a sense from each of you what kind of tools you came out of that program with that were helpful and supportive to help you move forward in what you're doing today.
Everything, okay, because Leonardo Bravo was our facilitator, and he actually recommended and referred me to the school that I have a residency for.
Right.
Because our project, we have to do a project, I don't know if you guys have done it yet, or you guys should really, in September when it comes up, really try to get in, because it's in its own, it's selective, because they don't take everyone, right? But in learning what the core, what the VAPA, all of these things that you need to be able to hit on the education aspect, right? But also having the artistry to capture that and present that and connect that with your particular audience, meaning whatever grade you're going in for, right? And so you tailor your project to the grade level that you want to teach. So I was over early childhood. I mentioned I had 2 kids, right? So I was trying to gear for high school. I wanted to do high school, and I did my our project, right, the lesson plan. So we had to do 13 weeks, right? We had to flesh out 13 weeks, and so I looked it over, and he said, "Yeah, that's 2. Did we? It's all a blur, It's just because when you're, but that's how you work and it just goes by. You don't, like time is not even an issue. And like how much time it was, I don't know. But so he looked at it and he said, "You really should do something with that." I was like, "Really? Okay." And so I am at a residency at a continuation high school, and I ended up not necessarily doing that program because I'm a dancer and an actor. So it's almost like Sophie's choice, like how can I choose? But it was based on a need. So once the school, I'm at a Highland Continuation School, so it's a continuation school, so this is their last stop, right, unless they go on. And I felt it was such a need for them to sort of make connections with where they want to go and what they want to do and how they got here. And so I used Augusto Boal's work, Theater of the Oppressed, which I thought would be fantastic for them to actually map out how did we get here, and also look at it in terms of like the last scene would be like 10 years later, right? Where are we? So even though I'm not doing that particular program that I did, that's still in my toolkit for another school, right? But I thought it was so instrumental, the program, because again, I'm coming from a teaching background, been teaching for a while. I went to New York, did the program there, was teaching there for a while. I was at New Jersey Performing Arts Center, was teaching, right? But geographically, different needs, different, you know what I mean, demographics, depending on where you're going to go into the teaching areas. And you have to be able to be adaptable to what is called for here. So for me, it was helpful to shape what was needed to be effective and to work. You know what I mean? Because that's what I wanted to do. I went back to school to get a master's so that I could, you know, resume was great, but not to hear sometimes you get a little pushback when they don't see an MA, right, or MFA. So the program will help you if those of you who haven't done that yet, right? It will actually help you see what it is necessary. Because the artist part is great, but that other part of sitting there, writing it, thinking about breaking it down, making sure you have the core, the VAPA, all of that aspect is what you really need the community for, really need the program for, and the facilitator, I'm sorry, I need to drink some water, to help break you down what is needed, to break the big vision down in these small bits so that the people that you're trying to serve may eat it. You understand?
Thanks. Ditto, right? Ditto in terms of the VAPA standards and learning. VAPA is visual and performing arts. What is the last A? Standards. So in order to get a grant or to be taken seriously as someone who has a program or a company, you really need to incorporate the standards, and there are different standards for each grade and each art form. So I'm a filmmaker, so I had different standards than she did because she's dance theater. So you have to learn how to incorporate that. And so for me, the program, I'm also an artist. Like I don't consider myself just a film. I consider myself a creator because I paint and I do many art forms. And so for me, that's always been a challenge. Like how am I gonna write a program for which thing, right? But the program helped me to really understand what was needed, right? So I didn't know. One of the things that I learned in the program was that film was an underserved discipline. So there are not that many filmmakers that go into schools and teach film. So for me, I was like, oh, that's a natural for me, and it would be fun and exciting. So I got in touch with what I could do for the need, right? And then it really is just what she was saying about being able to articulate on paper what your plan is. Because honestly, I'm really verbal, and I can tell you anything about whatever my ideas are, but unless it's in writing, you can't really do anything with it, right? Because people they actually read it, you know? And it makes you look like you're taking yourself serious to have it on paper. So you were talking about the 5-day thing. I operate, because I went to film school, and it was like you have a fire under your but all the time. So the 5-day intensive thing really worked for me. I operate really well under that kind of pressure, which is why I can operate really well in some of these schools, because there's a lot of pressure. And all those skills, you'll be surprised what skills you have translate into the classroom that I just had no idea about. But given that amount of time, I wanted to finish it. So I had 5 days, and I think there was a 2-week period between the last day, because we had to extend it, and I had another 2 weeks to finish it. And so when I have only a certain amount of time, I feel like it's gonna get done now. So that really worked for me. I know you don't do the program like that anymore, and everyone doesn't function that way. But the program, for so many reasons, it gave me ideas, it showed me what other people are doing. It was really an entree into, I didn't have any knowledge of how someone gets their program into a school. And so for me, the fact that I knew people did it, but I didn't know how, this program gave me some insight that I didn't have. So even if I hadn't got that grant, it's like you said, like I would know that you could just call a school and say, can I bring them your program? Because they need it. There's hundreds of, and now that I get the list, there's hundreds of schools that need these programs that are they have a 0. So the LAUSD rates their schools from 0 to 5 on the arts index. So a lot of the schools that end up on my list are either a 0 or a 1. And there's hundreds of schools on this list, right? So, and I only get a few of them. So the need is there. The thing, what I learned in the program is that the need is there, and it gave me the tools to write it down, and a blueprint, I think, is the best way to describe it, a blueprint of the steps that you need to take in order to move forward with your program, if you're creating a program from scratch. And it also, everyone in there didn't want to create a program, they wanted to contribute to someone else's, so it also provided a network opportunity for other people in the program who could collaborate or who would, come together and one person hired, or just sharing information. So, yeah.
Yes to all of that. The program itself is actually a really good example of a very well-structured course. Like, we were actually living and breathing during the course like what we were trying to learn, because it's so well-structured. And even though I naturally taught and was going, on my instinct, which was generally good from all my theatre experience, I never really knew much about scaffolding and and there's a reason why you scaffold. You might have all these ideas and you can walk in there and let's go, but people learn so differently. Learn so differently. So just to get that perspective shift, and also, I guess part of my mind, I didn't really know of the term teaching artist until really the Symposium last year, and then I was like, wow, I'd been teaching this whole time, but I didn't realize I was a teaching artist, and there's something different in that. So I sort of had this belief that, I'm going to teach theatre, and I was like, but I don't really, there's something different that I want to teach. It's not quite theatre. So throughout the actual course, the questions are being proposed like, wait, what age range do you really want to teach? And like initially you're like, I'm a teaching artist, so I'll probably teach, young children, old children, all those types of things, but having to really get clear myself on what I wanted to teach. And throughout that whole process, some people didn't even know until the very end of the course, until oh, I got it. Now I know what I want to teach. And so it really helped me really value the unique thing that I want to teach. It's very unique. Each of us has a very unique thing, and there's a place for it. And learning the language of how schools operate is absolutely essential. Learning the standards and how to write, how to scaffold. So that I'd been teaching at Emerson Elementary in Burbank for 4 years, and then when I went back this year for my 5th year, it was completely different. I had teachers coming in being like, what's going on? What is this? The kids are going crazy for it in a good way, because they were all getting it in their own unique way. Some people were loving the physicality and we're up on our feet doing it. Some people was like, no, but go and write that thing on the board, because I really liked it when you wrote the clear steps on the board. I'm like, I can see more engagement from everybody. So it's just going through that process personally to find what I wanted to teach, because it's essential. It's what you're bringing. That's what it is, you know. And so the course really helped me get there and give me all the tools to get there. And then the vital factor is, how do you even approach schools? You don't just, you know, just walk up to the door. You can, but there are many better ways to go about it. And yeah, I had to learn that one. You know, they were very polite to me, but you know. And all the support that's around in the larger educational community that wants us to succeed. They want this work in there, and that helped us actually to give us the opportunities to even have the conversation and get in the door. So it's a fantastic course.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about networking, and I hope you've experienced that today, where you've been able to hear different people, what their perspective is and what their experience is, that you start seeing that it's like you know, it's a lot about networking. It's having those conversations. It's being willing to sometimes do a volunteer something to be able to connect the dots with some organization. Just even if you like it, you know, because it, like, once again, it looks good on paper sometimes. It doesn't feel so good when you have to do it. I think this is a good way to say what you actually do, because I'm sure people are going, he does this and physical and all of that stuff, and they know the name of your program. But I just wanted, just for each of you, just to say, what is it you are doing right now as a teaching artist? And I know you have your own business too, as a nonprofit, right, or corporation. So,
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
For sure.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I'm doing sort of two different things, but they definitely synergize together. As a teaching artist, I collaborate and the lead teaching artist, and also writing all the programs for a company called Theatre Play, and we are based up in Burbank and do workshops up there. So basically, it's called theatre, but the work that we're really bringing in, I'm very passionate about mindfulness, and I've really found, as I'm sure a lot of us have, just the benefits of theatre. And in my everyday experience. So underneath what I'm teaching, we're doing theatre exercises and voice exercises and things like that. But it's really personal development. It's really connection, human connection. We're now growing up in an age where the children growing up now, they probably have a Facebook profile already when they're still in the womb. It's like, oh, he's out in 9 months, Facebook profile. There is a danger here in the fragmentation of the mind. So I've found how theatre connects us to ourselves and each other. So in that work, I'm doing a lot of spatial awareness exercises. I'm talking about how our imagination and our creativity is a muscle. And just like any muscle, we want to exercise it. And if you want to achieve what you want in life, what your highest dreams are, learn how to use that muscle. So at school, I'm very much aware that we learn all of these details, but it's not always what we learn. There's some things that are very important, what we learn, but it's how we learn. So the course that I've luckily had the space to workshop and develop with Theatre Play up there is integrative learning, using theatre and mindfulness for integrative learning. And what I do outside of that, I'm co-founder of a company called Ecstatic Dance Los Angeles, and this is more for the greater community. So this is a regular meeting. There's we meet or we dance. It's an event twice a month over in Westwood. It's about 150 to 200 people, always growing. It's a very big community, and this is where, as a teaching artist, I'm always trying to create that space, the best space for people to learn. This is a dance space that is drug and alcohol-free, completely safe, a lot of intention in there. And the main guideline is that you don't talk on the dance floor. Get out of your talking mind for a second and talk with your body, because there is incredible intelligence within our body. So just to have that space to move and to just be in that portal for a second and remember who you are is so vital, especially with what the world needs right now from us all, which is banding together and being our very best selves. And if we're disconnected from our minds and on our phones, not in our bodies, not in touch, The reflection is how we treat each other and how we treat the planet around us. So there is synergy between theatre play and ecstatic dance Los Angeles, because it's all about human connection, basically. So.
And with ecstatic dance, you're not just... Is that great? I think there's some identification out there. You're not just working with kids. You're bringing adults in.
Correct.
To
I
play
missed
too.
that part out. This it's an all ages event, and children under 16 are free. So
Right.
that's a beautiful thing where you've got dancing. We do yoga. We have vegetarian food. There's massage and body work and healing work if you need it, and then we have children there also. So it's an all ages event, and so the idea will be, how can we bring this more into schools? I'm still figuring that part out. Make it available. Make it as an offering, and also into the colleges. I think would be very important.
Oh, yeah.
UCLA and places like that. There are other ways to dance which is healthy without drinking, and the darkness that's there. It's probably one of the healthiest things for us to do is dancing with intention. In fact, I may claim it's one of the best preventative cares out there. Mm. So where is it? So that's what we're creating. And so the idea, I'm still figuring this part out, which is where the mentorship and the guidance from the Actors Fund, how to getting the support in how to create that, and how to bridge the gap, and how to make it just as beneficial for as many people as possible. So thank you so much for everything that you do here at the Actors Fund.
Thank you. Phyllis, what about you?
I'm going to his dance thing.
I think I'm going to.
I got flyers
We're all
on the
going there
table.
right afterwards, so anybody
Yeah,
that has
we're
any
dancing
plans
tomorrow.
for
It's gonna be
Saturday
great.
night.
Twice a month.
Yeah.
So my program is called the Red Balloon Playroom. It is a 12-week film boot camp I started out as a middle school and high school. Basically what I do is, there was a film that I saw in the first grade named The Red Balloon. I'm sure many of you have seen it. And I based my whole program around that film, basically. I started off showing that film, and then we analyzed the film together, which is always amazing because there's so many of the same themes. Like bullying is a big theme in this movie, and it's completely like, it's an old movie. It was made in 1957, and the kids, when I first turn it on, it looks like it's black and white, and they're like, "This is old," and But then, like 2 seconds later, they're in, because automatically they can relate to the isolation of the little boy in the film. And this is true for high school, it's true for middle school, it's just true for many ages. So basically we watch the film, we analyze it, we go through all the elements of storytelling and what is in a film. A character, plot, crisis, we just break down everything. And I only ask the questions, they answer it. They go up to the board and they're writing it, and I'm like, okay, so what's the plot? And they answer it and they write it on the board, and so we break the whole thing down on the board. They know the costumes. He was wearing a skirt, because the costumes in France that time, that some of the little boys have on what looks like a skirt. And so break it all down, and then they're all very clear about the elements that go into storytelling. And then we erase it. This happens over a 12-week period. And I go in the school for 1 hour per class, once a week. We go back, we erase it, and I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna do your film. So with the middle school students, we work as a team to create a story. So, what do you want your story to be about? Well, what are you feeling today? And we go through everything, the tone, the feeling, and we get them to create their story. And so we do the same thing. We write all the elements on the board. What's the plot? What are they wearing? Blah, blah, blah. And then we have the story now, and then we go through, and it's amazing because they are not jaded yet. And I know filmmakers that couldn't do this because it would need to be perfect, right? So there is no perfection. They just are free to just let loose on the board with their ideas. And sometimes it gets very competitive because, so we'll get to that. But basically, they have the story now, and then we write the script with the middle schoolers, we write the script on the board. We literally sit and we go through the whole thing and we write it on the board. And with the high schoolers, they all are assigned to write their own script. So, so it's actually more exciting to work with the middle schoolers in a way because they are working as a team and they haven't really done this before. So, but then they get nervous because then we have a script and now we have to read the script. So we have a table read, and there are people who are shy, but everyone has to read something, and they get a chance to learn about speaking in public and being a character. And then we then have auditions. If we can't come to an agreement with who's going to do what role, then we have an audition process, and the kids get to choose. They get to pick the person that they want to play in that role. So it's very exciting for them. It is definitely immersive. They are involved. It is their project. And then I bring in a DP and a sound person, and we shoot their film. We shoot it in 3 hours per 12 kids. And that is a lot. And it seems like, wow, you shoot a film in 3 hours? Yes, we do. But some of the kids can't make it 3 hours. They're like, this is too much work. So they get the whole experience of actually what it takes to make a movie. Like you say you want to be on TV, this is what it takes. So they know. And then I have an editor edit it because I really want to have it finished by the end of the 10 or 12 weeks. And I have an editor, and then we show it. And the school can invite the parents and the other teachers and other students, and it becomes an event, and they're really proud, and they've made this film, and it's all theirs, and they have ownership, and then it goes on my website online, the redballoonplayroom.com website. So I've made 14 of these movies in the past 2 years, and then they can show it to their friends, and I went to visit the website. I don't do anything to like advertise this website. It's just really for them. And one of the first videos from the first semester that I worked, which was about 2 years ago, has over like 1,500, maybe 2,000 hits. And I'm like, wow, we didn't even make an effort to do that, but this is just them proud that they've created something. And it takes them through the whole process of what it takes to make a film, and that's what my program is. That's what I do.
And now Miss F.
No. So 2 things. I am the Department of Cultural Affairs Artist in Residence grantee. So I wrote a grant. That just means I wrote a grant, and so and I was awarded it 2 years in a row. 2016, 17, thank you. It's 2017, 18. And so in that, I work with seniors. I pick a facility, a community that I want to work with, and I do it for, depending on the level of grant, right? The level meaning money and time, but usually it's 8 weeks for me, and then at least 8 weeks, and then at the end of that we have a presentation that is for the community at large. They come and they see that, and so basically I do reminiscence theater, so it's based on their stories, and so we intertwine those stories and we present theater. During the time though, I prepare them, right? We want to set people up for success. So of course I do theater games and conventions and all of those things to build their community, because a lot of these places, it's so reminiscent of high school, if you can remember high school, and you're the only one sitting at the lunch table and all the cool kids are over there, and that kind of sort of repeats in different ways throughout your life, right? And so I saw that also happening in the senior facilities. The one I did, the grant work with this one community was an in-home, so they lived there. And then the other one was a day center, so they come. And so there's challenges with this population, and I do different demographics and social economic and all of that. So the in-house, we're a living facility for seniors, they were well off, to say the least, right? And their challenges are the same challenges that were the one that I recently did, which I would say was maybe low to middle class, I would say, economically. So it's just people growing older, having stories to share, and finding these connections in the stories that they're sharing with their fellow people that they're growing old with, right? So a lot of them didn't know each other, even though they lived there. Same thing with the place that I did the grant this year. They go there, they're very active in certain areas. They may take a dance class together, but they didn't know, oh my gosh, my family's from Georgia too. And so we end up devising a scene about going out to an outing with the family. And so what's your favorite childhood memory? And so we begin to put these things on its feet and see how it intertwines, and then I present this to the community and people come out and see it. So that's my Department of Cultural Affairs grant work that I do. And that stemmed from my thesis that I did when I went back to school, which is applied theater, which sort of opened my eyes to my philosophy that I've been doing all along. You're like, oh, other people have written a book on it already? Shucks, you know? If those of you were in the earlier session about Eric Booth, that's a applied theater, founding father, right? That he's quoting what teaching artists are. So, anywho, then my teaching aspect of me, which I'm not happiest until I'm dancing. So I don't know if any of you out here are dancers, but I'm like not very nice if I can't. It's something about balance, something about life, air. So I will be at your thing too, because we never dance with under the influence. I would love people to feel that, to share that. Like, it wasn't even a thought. And it took, you're not a dancer, right? Like this, are you like?
No, well, I went to dance classes, and I had this inner dancer who was just so feeling it, and then when I looked at myself in the mirror, there was a disconnect. But then I grew to really want to still express that feeling. So this space is to be you and to dance you, because we have to in life. And yeah.
Amen, brother. Yeah. So what I can say to that is that to your programs that you have. So I'm a dancer. I would never think that thought. Do you understand? Like, I never thought this, that when I go out dancing, I'm dancing. Hey, sweating. Oh, yeah, boogie down, right? I'm not even thinking about alcohol. I'm not even thinking about any of those things, right? So it takes somebody, who is sort of going to look at it a different way, right, and present it, right? So it just goes to something else I saw recently. I don't know if this was an Instagram. I'm on a tangent. About, it doesn't matter how many cookie companies there are out there, right? Doesn't matter if you have a vision for a cookie company, do the cookie company, right? So, because whatever your cookie company is going to be like, maybe I couldn't go to this cookie place to get the cookie because they're closed. I have no more. I have to go down the street to the other one. So everybody's thing is different, so, because I would never think about that. So that's fantastic. So to segue back to what I thought, because I was teaching dance since little, I'm like, I'm tired of teaching these kids. I want to teach college. So where they want to be there and they want to learn and they need to be there because they have to make the GPA, right? They have to do that. So so I also teach at two different a college and a university who's do MFAs and BFAs. So and then my other teaching educator thing would be the absolute thing that was birthed from this was, which I already mentioned, was Highland High School Continuation School, which is something that I wrote. I did a pilot program. I was referred by Leonardo Bravo, but then he left. And I was like, ooh, right? And then he left, and then so what happened was I didn't. I reached out, followed up, sent my resume, sent my stuff, and I didn't hear anything. And then a year later, the principal calls me and says, "Oh, we want you to come in." She emailed me the prior year saying, "Oh, I'm trying to find out because their budgets are so it's key when you approach whoever you're going to approach. You're going to learn all that so because if they're capped out, they don't have any money for you. They don't have any money for you, right? So she had to wait for the next year to bring me in. So what I did was I did a pilot program. She liked the pilot program. She said, come in September. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's in New York. August. They start school in August here. I came in and I did it, and then she wanted me back, and then she wanted me back, and then she wanted me back. So, and so I'm on the cusp of thinking about doing a nonprofit after this morning. I don't know. Only because, I'm still an artist. I still audition. I still do what I do. Finding balance, and there's more schools that want, because they talk. Yeah, I've got this great, she's a great gal. I don't know what they say. I'm just saying that maybe but they talk and they like, would you want to do this school? And you do this school, and you go like, oh man, how many schools can I handle? And then what does it look like? House funding. I'm one of those people that I'm like, it's great that you could work the budget, but if I could get as many funding sources as possible, that would be fantastic, because my vision was big, and so so that's where I am right now on do I do this nonprofit? Because oh my gosh, do I want something else on my plate? It sounds really like, is she really saying she's only trying to do 1 or 2 schools?
A little confused as to what exactly your program is with your students. Do you do story circles? Do you get
So with Highland Park, so I teach theater. So what I do is the first semester, my spring curriculum is based on getting to know community, getting to know each other, figuring out our common social justice interests and concerns, and then building on that. So we do maybe a group poem, a tableau, to try to sort of start to form that. Eventually, what I have them do is I have them go into I start breaking down plots. I start breaking down, difference of trying to develop a story. Then by the project for the end of that first semester is they have to do a film about themselves. Second semester, then what we do is, now that they understand solo work, all of that, so now we're coming together as a community and we do a work based on, this happened to be on a scene they devised about how they got to the school, right? So there's all these different ways of the administration didn't care, parents had a difficulty, I was slacking off, distractions, all kinds of whatever the distractions are. We did a group of Gustavo Wow's work, which is Theater of the Press, or Forum Theater is also called, and so we presented that for the class. Also, I have them submit their films to the LAUSA Film Festival, and one of my students from Highland Park got selected.
That's great. Thank you. It's a good question. It really is. I'm going to have to move just because we have to get started with this, and I'm just, due to time, we only have a certain amount of time in the theater. So you're welcome to ask them questions right afterwards, so I apologize for not having enough time for Q&A. Okay? So let's get going, and let's move into Michelle Meering is going to, who actually works with Bunny and with her organization, and she is going to take us through a curriculum. And we are all going to be, what?
Kindergartners.
Kindergartners. Wanna be
Kindergartners.
How
Go
about
back.
Want to
Go
be 5
way
years
back.
old for a little while? Okay, let's be 5 years old for a little while.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, look at I'm gonna start my little PowerPoint right here. There we go. Hi, everybody. Jambo. Yes, Jambo means hello in Swahili. My name is Michelle Meering. If you can't hear me, I'll go back on the microphone, but I have too much energy to stand behind this podium. So forgive me, raise your hand if you can't hear me, and I'll make sure I get some more amplification. My name again is Michelle Meering. I am the program coordinator and teaching artist with Dreamer World Education, which you saw our film, our fantastic film, our wonderful program by Bunny Hall. I have the privilege and the wonderful opportunity to teach theater, as well as some social, emotional skills, and language arts. And so today we're going to do an abbreviated version of what I would do in my kindergarten classroom. So please go with me, be kindergartners, find your inner child, and we're going to have some fun today. I know you guys have been sitting for a long time. So the first thing, oops, my clicker is not. Oh, there we go. The first thing we're going to do, see, in our program, all of our children are called Young Masters. And before we start any program, what we do is the Young Masters Pledge. So may I have everyone please stand up. Stretch it out. You've been sitting for a while. Now, with your right hand, make a peace sign. Place that right over your heart and repeat after me. I promise. I promise to use my gifts. To use my gifts. Every day. Every day. In every way. In every way. For I am a young master. For I am a young master. Peace. Peace. I am somebody. Somebody. I am somebody. Somebody. I am somebody. Somebody. I am somebody. Yes. Thank you. You may be seated, young masters. Now, if they ask you why you are young masters, you will all say, because we all have special gifts. Let's practice. Why are you young masters? Because we all have special gifts. Very good. Now, one thing before we go on, I forgot to tell you. One great thing that we use in our classroom to get the attention of our children is we use call and response. One of the calls and response that I'll use with you today is called ago, which means are you ready? And the response is ame. Yes, I'm ready. So let's practice. Ago. Ame. Ago. Ame. Yes, you are ready. So, in our program, we have, oh yes, I am somebody. Yes, here we go. In our program, we have our gifts. Our gifts are called the secrets of the heart. And today we're going to talk about 5 secrets. The first secret is friendship. Now, for those who cannot hear, we have a special sign for friendship. It looks like this. Will you all sign and say the word friendship with me? Ready? Friendship. Very good. Now, the second secret today we're going to talk about is smile. For those who cannot hear, the sign for smile looks like this. Will you sign and say the word smile with me? Smile. Very good, young masters. Our third secret is a wonderful secret, and it looks like this. It's called kindness. You put your hands to your heart, and you roll them out like that. Would you sign and say the word kindness with me? Kindness. The next secret is one of my favorites. It is imagination. Now the sign, for those who cannot hear, you put your hands together like this, right at the center of your mind, your head, and put them out like that. Will you sign and say the word imagination with me? Imagination. Now, maybe some of you have the same. I have a wild imagination. Feel free to use that. And there's one more secret that we'll get to a little bit later. But today we're going to focus all on our imagination. So what I need for everybody to do is to warm up your imagination. So if you put your hand right here, just warm it up. See, our imagination, we find our imagination right here in our mind. And when we're with our classroom, I have these wonderful tiles I want to show you that I use for the kids. A lot of the kids don't read yet, so I'll say mind, and they know that's their mind because we're rubbing it up. And I'll have kind of like funny drawings there. So if they cannot read or if they're not English speakers, they still understand the concept of mind. And I have a couple like we have imagination. But it's everybody's, I'll go. Amen. There, you guys are paying attention. Everybody's mind warmed up? So now we're going to do an activity. It's called a think, pair, share activity. And what that means is that our students think for themselves, then they pair with a partner, and then they together solve a problem or think of ideas. So if everyone would just find someone next to you, everybody have a partner. Does everyone have a partner? Try to see you guys find together here. Everyone try to find a partner. Really. Does everyone have a partner? Now I would like you to take a moment and look in your partner's eyes and say, I see you. I see you. Wonderful. Now we're all ready to, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. 1 second. What is this? I'm so sorry. It's over here. Oh my goodness. Where's Mark? I didn't know this was an imaginary animal station. Where's this? I just found this beautiful imaginary bunny rabbit. She's so beautiful. She has brown and orange spots. And her fur, oh my goodness, her fur feels so soft. And I think she talks. Wait a minute. Okay. Do you talk? She said yes. I'm going to ask her what her name is. What's your name? She said her name is Kaya. Let everybody say hi, Kaya. Hi, Kaya. What's that, Kaya? You were kidding. Kaya says that if everyone puts their hands just like this, and they look down, they too will see that everyone in this room has a baby bunny in their Now, if you would mind, take a moment and really look at your baby bunny. And then would you please turn to your partner, and I would like you to share what color fur does your bunny have? What is color fur? Please tell your partner, does your bunny have long fur, soft fur, curly fur? All of your buddies can talk. So if you very gently whisper into your buddy's ear, what is their name? They will tell you what their name is. So would like to talk to you. And then please tell your partner, what's your buddy's name? Forgive me, I'm mistaken. These are not little bunny rabbits. These are hamsters. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Can you take a moment and please look at your hamster? And would you please tell your partner what kind of hamster do you have? A small one? A large one? A teddy bear? Is it orange? Please share with your partner what your flapping their wings, or are their wings closed up tight? Do they have long antennae? Please take a moment and then share with your partner what your butterfly looks like. It's time to let our butterflies go. So on the count of 2, we're going to count to 3 and fly these butterflies right up to the center. 1, 2, 3. Very good, young master. I sing, you repeat. I have a magic eye. 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 All inside my mind you see. It's all inside my mind you see. I have a magic eye. Hey! I have a magic eye. Hey! Very wonderful. You are good singers, young masters. So our magic eye is called where our imagination lives. And so in our imagination, we get to come up with, there we go. We use our imaginations to come up with stories. And today, I think you guys heard some stories of people speaking, yeah? Let's call out, where are other places that we find stories? We heard stories being spoken. Where else are there stories? Books, right? Where else do we find stories? From our grandparents. Yes, those grandparents have awesome stories to tell. Where else do we find stories? Pictures, film, TV. Where else? Experience, outdoors in the street. I love that. You guys in songs, you guys know where to find the stories. But let me tell you a little secret about stories. Every story, anywhere you find a story, has 1, 2, 3 parts. And I'm going to teach them to you so you never forget them. See, every story starts. We have to go back. My PowerPoint went back. Well, it's fine. We'll just, if you go back one. Thank you. Go back to another slide. Every story starts. There we go. Every story starts at the beginning. Oh, will you guys do that with me? Beginning. Fantastic. And every story is followed by the middle. Oh, you guys know what to do. Let's do it together. Middle. And every story stops at the end. Very good. Let's do it. Let's see. Shake your hands. The end. Fantastic. That was really good, young masters. So, and every story, anywhere you go, anywhere around the world, has characters. So you see we have a lady shopping, we got some ninjas, we have some frogs. Now characters are who the story is about. Can you say who? Who. That's right. That is the character of the story. Now every story is a place, and that is called the setting. Very good. Those stories can be in spaceships, in houses, even in Australia. You can find a story anywhere. And a story is where the story takes place. Can you say where? Where. That is called the setting. So now, let's review. We have 3 parts of the story. The beginning, followed by the middle, and every story stops at the end. Very good. Every story has characters, and that's who the story is about. And every story is in a setting, and that is where. You guys are great. What great young masters. So we're going to talk a little bit about different stories. And in fact, we're going to talk about one particular storyteller that is one of my favorite. He grew up in a place called Guanajuato, Mexico. Now, does anyone know where Mexico is? Raise your hand if you know where Mexico is. Very good. Now, if I had the globe right here, I would show you where we are, which is in Los Angeles. And you'll see that Mexico is a little bit south of us. And this special person told stories through artwork. And his name was Diego Rivera. Let's say that together. Diego Rivera. Fantastic. Diego Rivera loved to tell stories through paintings. And the one painting we're going to look at today, among a million paintings that he's done that are really, really beautiful. Today we're going to look at this one called The Flower Vendor. Can you say that? The Flower Vendor. Very good. Now, vendor, of course, means someone who sells something. And so if you see on the painting, she is selling, what is she selling? Flowers. Flowers. Very good. Now, are your imaginations still warm? Yes. Fantastic. What I would like us to do right now is visit this painting. And when we go in, I want you to use all your 5 senses. I want you to take a moment to hear and smell and taste if you have something to eat. All the experiences that you have in your real life, in our imagination. Will you go to the painting with me? Yes. All right, everyone, stand up. All right, now, stretch out a little bit. Get ready. Warm up this imagination. On the count of 3, we're going to jump into this painting. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Young masters, take a moment to look around. And then I'm going to ask some questions, and I just want you guys to shout out your answers. So, what do you smell? Everybody take a deep breath in. What do you smell? Flowers. Oh, roses? Very nice. Lavender, very good. Now, everyone, open up your ears. What do you hear? Bees. Bubbles.
Insects.
Now everyone take a moment. Is it hot? Cold? Shining? Is it cold? I like cold. Just right. Now everyone take a look around. Who do you see here? Who's here in our painting today?
Man in the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Any surprise visitors here in our little group? Yeah, there are some bugs. Oh, right, young masters, let's jump out of the painting, shall we? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, hey, young masters, you may all be seated. Wasn't that a fun journey into our painting? So we're going to use our experience just now and our knowledge of making stories to make our own story based on this beautiful painting. Now what I have here is called a template. And what that means is the beginnings of the story. Some of the words are there, but you'll see there's some blank spots. Well, we're going to fill in all the blank spots and be able to tell our story. But here's the wonderful part about this. We are going to do movements for the words that we add. For example, if you want to say dog, you might go dog. And we're all going to do this together, and by the end we'll have a wonderful piece, a story that we can perform. Are you ready? Oh my goodness, I would say I'll go, but you are the most quiet. So let me start the story. So every story starts at the beginning. And the beginning of this story starts like this. Once upon a time, in a little village called... Now, I want you guys to shout out. You can shout out the answer, but you have to have a movement.
Walinda.
Oh, say that again.
Walinda.
Oh, Walinda. Let's do that together. Walinda. I don't know how to spell Walinda, but I'm going to make it up. Walinda. That's not it. That's how it's going to be said. Walinda. So, let's practice. Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there lived a lady named
Sarita.
Do your movement. Ooh, let's hear it together. Camila. I like that. Let me put Camila. Camila. Let's practice from the top. Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there lived a lady named Camila. One day, she was walking to
The market. The market.
the market. The market. Ooh, I like that. The market. Ooh, my handwriting. Forgive my handwriting right now. Let's practice from the tippy-tip top, all right? Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there lived a lady named Camila. One day, she was walking to the market, and she got lost. Oh my goodness. Then she met a magical
Wizard.
Wizard.
I love it. Let's do it. Wizard. Oh, fantastic. Young bastard. I like your wizard. Okay. Mind that. So let's start it from the very, very top all the way down to our toes. Ready? Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there lived a lady named Camila. One day she was walking to the market, and she got lost. You can react. I want to hear Then she met a magical wizard. Its name was
Starlight. Starlight.
With Starlight?
Starlight.
Starlight, can we see that? Starlight! Oh my goodness, you guys are fantastic. Starlight. Okay, let's try it from the top. From the top. Now, we do this repetitive because, of course, you guys can remember. But for our kindergartners, sometimes starting from the very, very top, by the end of the time, we know the whole story by heart. So, let's start it from the top, young bastards. Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there lived a lady named Camila. One day, she was walking to the market, and she got lost. And then she met a magical wizard. Its name was Starlight. Fantastic. You guys are doing amazing. It told her to follow the moon. All right, that's moon. Let's start it from the tippy top down to the bottom of our toes. You guys are doing amazing. Once upon a time, in a little village called Walinda, there was a lady named Camila. One day, she was walking to the market, and she got lost. Whoa! And then she met a magical wizard. Its name was Starlight. It told her, yes, its name was, that's what we got to. No, it told her to follow the moon. Very good. And she would find her way. She did. And when she got home, she saw her family. She saw AJ. You saw AJ. Awesome. You're all back. Awesome, AJ. You know, I have to say, in every class, we always have one dumb master that loves to be a part of the story. In every class I have. My young masters, do you think we're ready to perform our story? Yes! Can we top to the bottom of our toe? Yes! Fantastic. Will you all please stand up? Gotta tell the story. Now, shake it out, shake it out. This is our performance now. This is our time to really shine, young masters. We're going to tell our story from the very top, from the beginning. We're going to tell it through the middle. And then we're going to stop at the end. Fantastic. And when we stop, I want everybody to say, the end. Very good. Here we go. Oh, you know, young masters, I forgot to title our story. That's the one thing I forgot. So if you'll let me do the honor to title your story. And I would like to say, This story should be called The Wonderful Flower Vendor with Friends. Can we say that together?
The wonderful flower vendor with friends.
Now everybody take it back. Once upon a time, in a little village called
Galinda,
there was a lady named
Camilla,
One day she was walking to
the market,
and she got lost. Then she met a magical
wizard,
Its name was
starlight,
It told her to follow the
moon,
and she would find her way home. She did, and when she got there, she saw
a
Stop us first. We're gonna go.
the
Oh my goodness, get your Now, young masters, we always end our workshop with the Young Masters Pledge. Will you please, with me, put your right hand, peace sign, you guys know, place it over your heart, repeat after me. I promise to use my gifts
to use my gifts
every day,
every day,
every way,
in every way.
for I am a young master.
For I am a young master.
Peace.
Peace.
Very good. You may be seated, young masters. Now, I want to just say, we talked about all the secrets of the heart. We talked about friendship. We talked about smile. We talked about kindness. We talked about my favorite, imagination. And I promised there was one more that we were going to talk about. And this is one I would love to say to you. It is thank you. So for those who cannot hear, special sign for thank you. Put your hand right here and go out with that. And I want to say thank you to all of you for participating and being silly as little kindergartners. You're the best kindergarten class I ever had. Yes. Thank you to Joanne. Thank you to the Actors Fund for having me here. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I think we have a couple minutes for question and answer.
Do you want to say anything about the standards that you were
Yeah, so I can touch base on that real quick. So we do a lot of cross-curricular activities in this workshop, as you might have noticed. We touched on geography. Usually in our workshops, we go in succession. So each workshop, they start with music, they do dance, they do with the drum, they do theater arts with me, and then we do visual arts. And each one of us bring to the classroom a different location on the map. So they get to see where they live in Los Angeles, and then we have a discussion about where the other places are on the globe. So they have a little bit of geography, a little bit of spatial awareness in the world. We also touch on, in my workshop, we talk about language arts. So they get the parts of the story, which is really important because kindergartners are just at that cusp of learning to read. So they get to have an idea of the structure of the story, and also being able to make their own story is very empowering for them as well. We talk about visual arts because we talk about the Diego Rivera and a little bit about his painting, which we just touched on really briefly. And of course, theater arts. You get to perform. So we have a lot of cross-cultural in the program, but in particular in my workshop, we do a lot of cross-cultural. There's also a lot of call and response. That's a really wonderful way of getting attention. Sometimes in the classroom, you'll need to do some call and response because they get a little squirrely sometimes, and you need to get the attention back. And we use music a lot in all of our workshops because music is a great way to just tap into a different part of their learning. And so all of our workshops, we're going through standards. We have the core curriculum standards that are established by the LUSD. And so there is, in each of our workshops, a corresponding, point in their curriculum that we hit. So we make sure that we do everything sequentially and correctly so we can make sure we're covering all our standards. But also, the kids forget that they're learning anything because they're having a ball. Yes?
What happens when you have an enthusiastic group of kids and they all have the name of the woman?
That's
How do you choose which one that everyone's going to agree on?
Yes, that is actually a really great question, and we've done it different ways. A lot of times the children are kind of, they come up with really amazing ideas, but you'd be surprised at how repetitive the ideas are. So usually in that situation, I'll get like maybe 2 or 3 ideas that the children love, and then we put it to a vote. We put it to a vote. I say, oh, we have great ideas. I write them down. I say, okay, raise your hand if you like. And sometimes there are 5, so they'll raise their hand every single time. And sometimes the teacher's like, not that one. But we try to do it diplomatically. We try to do it diplomatically in the classroom. I think it's really important that the children have ownership of the story. So it's really important to engage everybody in the idea. And sometimes the person they may be disappointed, but you go, but that was a great idea. We're just going to go with this one, but your idea was great. Any other questions? Just stretching your heart. Any other questions? Yeah.
So does the teacher stay there with you while you're teaching? Or do
Yeah.
they leave the room?
Well, we love it when our teachers stay and participate with us. And this is usually done as a 2-day workshop. The first day, I usually actually engage the teacher up here with me. We do a mirror activity so the kids can model that activity for the children, and then I'll call back with the help of the story with the teacher. So we try to engage the teacher as much as possible within the workshop, which I didn't do today because it was sort of an abbreviated version of it. There are occasions where the teacher will be in the back, and you'll find this as a teaching artist, where they're like, oh, phew, you're here, hold on back. And hey, teachers work really hard, and we want to make their lives as easy and as pleasurable as possible. So you have to honor those teachers as well who check out. We do try to engage them to the level that they want to be engaged. I know that I have the most fun, and I think the kids have the most fun, when the teachers are engaged. In our program, we really try to get the teachers on board right away. And I think that's a really important part for when you're structuring your activities or your workshops. Get your teachers on board right away. Have the teacher buy in to the program. You will be so much more successful if your teacher is like, oh, I can't wait to see what you got today. You know, or I've had teachers that are so enthusiastic that they practice the story. By the time I've gotten there, the kids are like, you know, we'll just show you the story. And they do it. And I'm like, oh, well, that was part of the time. Okay, well, let's play games, you know. So it's really important, I think, to engage the teachers right away. A lot of the times the principals love the job, and they're like, yeah, we'll hire you. Take the moment, meet your teachers, know their name, know their idiosyncrasies of what they like in their classroom. When you enter their classroom, I know for myself, I'm always respectful when I enter their space because it is their space. So you want to honor that and honor what they're giving to the classroom. And these are their kids. You're just borrowing them for a little while. Yeah.
You speak again to the standards, what kind of stuff they want to see and how do you work?
Oh yeah, I actually I thought I might need some specifics. So I brought I think I have it up here. The standards are set by the district. There are different districts in the locality of Los Angeles. LUSD is one. We have the Hawthorne School District. But they're pretty standard, and basically they're a form where it's basically a list of different things that your child should accomplish or be able to do by the time they've moved on to another grade. Thank you. So what we try to do is it's really helpful to go into the classroom and say, I'm going to serve this 5.5 AF. It looks like that. This point that says your child is able to complete the understanding of what verbs and nouns are. Okay. If you can bring that with your curriculum, with your artistic curriculum, every single principal is going to love you because they are obligated to provide all of those education points to their community. They're obligated to do that. But if you're going to do it in a fun way, in a way that the kids are actually going to learn it, not just so they check it off, oh my goodness, the principals are going to be over the moon and want to hire you again and again. So part of what the Actors Fund will do is go through all those points with you, the VAPA and with the core curriculum points, So you can kind of cater to like, okay, these are what my program does. You don't have to hit all points, but you do have to have some in there if you're going to go into any classroom situation. I hope that answered. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Yeah.
How many hours is it? Like 1 hour, 1 day, a week, or how does that work?
So we're really lucky in our program. We're in the school for the Secrets of the Heart program for 6 weeks total. We start with the performance, and then each of the teaching artists come in twice into the classroom, and we're with the children for 45 minutes each time. So sometimes we have 5 classrooms, so we'll be there all day, and then sometimes we'll split it up, so we'll have 2 and then 3 another day. So it depends, but with the children, we're with them 45 minutes for each, twice a week. And then we see them again for our culmination, when we all come together and they get to practice all the wonderful things that they've done. And that's maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then our culmination, we invite all of our community, all of the parents. And one thing I'm going to touch on a little bit is the parent component of this. What we did was all with the children, but with our program, we have this wonderful way of engaging our parents, engaging our community. They do their parent workshop before the children even see us. And the parents get to participate. They get to write their wishes, which their children are doing, and our faculty does as well. But they also get a piece of cardboard to write their dreams and wishes, which we call the vision board. We encourage the families and the children together to create this vision board of anything that they dream, that they want, the things that they come back with, like, I want a house. You know, I'd like my dad to come home. I'd like to be safe. I mean, you have to take a moment to really appreciate what you have. So, but we engage our families on that level before their kids even come home talking about, you know, friendship. The parents are already prepared. And we try to engage the parents all the way through. We'll send home activities where each of the children get a booklet that they can bring home and show, or they work in the classroom and show with their parents. So our community is involved from the very, very get-go. So at the end, when we have our culmination, we dress the children up in costume. They look adorable. They have their headdresses on. They have their kente cloth on. They come in, they do the performance. We invite the whole community, so we got grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles, moms, dad. It is a celebration. It's fantastic. And then we also have a friendship tree that we dedicate. We have a tree that either is already planted or we plant, and the children place their wishes that are all these little hearts that they've written their hopes and dreams and wishes on. And that stays in the courtyard of the school. And it stays there, and the children are told that they ever need to come and talk it out with a friend, or they just need time to be with a friend, that is their tree to go to. And you know what? The kids do it. They go from mom and dad to the friendship tree. Even mom and dad sometimes goes, let's go to the friendship tree. So the impact is, even though I just got to show you a little bit of what we do, but the impact is so big. And I just urge you in your planning of your future wonderful programs, include your parents, include the population of your parents. You will change the communities so much more dramatically if you have the buy-in of your teachers, your principals, and your parents. Yeah.
Before you step into the actual classroom, can you talk about all the cool stuff that happens? For example, as a substitute teacher, before you can actually go into the classroom, you have to have like a clean test and you watch the airborne videos, the fingerprinting, because you're outside, like you're actually regular contractor coming in. So you guys have to cover those same things as well as classroom management if the teacher doesn't.
Yes. So the short answer is yes. Anytime you're going into working with children, you should go down, get yourself fingerprinted. The school districts require that you are on file, that you get fingerprinted. It's painless. I promise you guys, it's painless. You usually go downtown. Different places have different spots. You have to go to their spot. And they fingerprint you. You have to be all cleared. Some private schools even do it. Where they'll do an FBI report. I mean, it depends on where you're going. But it's for their confidence in you coming into their classroom. And you want to do it. It's such a wonderful thing to go in and think, yes, I'm already cleared, I went down, here's my fingerprints. Yes, so you have to do it. It's painless, I promise you. I think it costs maybe $30. But it's an investment for $55. Okay, thank you. It's called $55. You do have to have a TB test. That's right. Also painless, I promise you, it's painless. It pokes 2 seconds, you're done. So having all those is and you were talking to get to you in a second. Classroom management. Yes, so classroom management is a really important skill to have. I can't impress upon you more that you want to make sure that you are able to engage your children. But I want to change that. It's not so much classroom management, is that classroom engagement, I think is what I'd like to say. Children, especially when they're little, they have lots of energy. Sitting for 4, you guys have been sitting all day. I don't know. I would get out of my seat even. Like, I'm glad I'm standing up here to do all this. You just have to understand and respect that children have a lot of energy. And so what we want to do is engage them rather than manage them. And there are many ways of doing that. I know for me, because I'm kind of like a 5-year-old in myself, I do the wiggles. We get the wiggles out. You might want to try this. Get all the wiggles out. Try it on yourself when you're sitting in traffic. Get those wiggles out. Just send that vibration out. And then you take a deep breath in. Calms it all down. So that's what I do. You might find something that works for you in your classroom. There are lots of resources out there, but again, don't think management, think engagement. I'm sorry, you have a question.
I was just suggesting, unless things have changed, whenever it's not advisable to get your fingerprints before you get hired. Because any place you go to requires you to get, even if it was 2 days after you just left another place, you must get fingerprinted at that meeting.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for that correction. That is true.
Yeah,
You should have to be hired first, and they will give you the place and the location and the time frame that they want you to. So I wouldn't go and get it before, but just be willing to say, yes, I'll go get that fingerprinting done.
They send you a form
Yeah.
based on their school. You can get the test wherever you want, but it just has to have their information.
Yeah. There's some schools, when the Hawthorne School District, they send us to one location. So maybe different, yeah.
Yeah, the reason for that is that they're not allowed to share information. So you have to the information has to go straight to the agency.
Thank you. Take one more. We're there. I'm so sorry. I'm getting back. So, thank you.
I just want to be respectful because we only have the space for a certain amount of time. So, how was this for you today? Yeah. How did it feel being a 5-year-old for a little while? Getting into that 5-year-old inside of you. So this gives you a breath. I hope you got really a breath of what we're talking about here, and whether you want to be doing the training with us or you do the training whatever way you do it. It just shows that it is important to get some kind of training, in order to do that. So this is where I want to tell you. First of all, I want to thank Mark and for this wonderful space and this wonderful day, and the Wallace. Everybody has been so fabulous in terms of guiding us and showing us, where to go and what to do. And I want to thank you for taking the time out on a Saturday to learn, about what you want to do in this particular area. Our next steps are, and I want to thank you and thank all of our presenters. I think we've had a really amazing group of people presenting to you today, and I think it's gotten you a lot of information, and you won't quite know what to do with it when you walk out of here, but give yourself some time to digest. If you journal, you might want to do a little writing just to see what you captured today, what makes sense for you, and we're there for you. If you are not part of the Actors Fund, how many of you have never been to the Actors Fund, or you've never really been part of the Career Center, just out of curiosity? Well, most of my thing. But if you haven't, please come to an orientation. We have them Mondays at 1 o'clock over on Wilshire, 5757 Wilshire. And we also have on the 4th floor, Suite 400, and we also have a space over in Burbank. And I only mention that if you live in the Valley and it's easier for you to go there, on Thursdays at 10. So, and if you haven't done it in a long, long time, you need to kind of re-up that, because we may not have you current in our system. And then what's going to happen, we are releasing all the e-blasts at 4 o'clock today. So if you haven't already, if you're interested, we have 2 information meetings. You have to go to an information meeting to even get an application, okay? Because we want to make sure you understand what you have to do on the application. So the first one is tomorrow, on Monday, the 6th, and it'll be at 1:30. It will be at the 5757 address. And does it say 2 o'clock?
2 to 3:30.
Oh, maybe it is 2 to 3:30. I think I was thinking of, I was putting two together. I was putting the 3:30 and the 1 together. That's okay. Whatever it says, that's what it is. I didn't know. I just show up when they tell you got to go downstairs, and I go. So it's 2 o'clock. It may not even last as long as 3:30. It's probably just going to be about an hour. It just depends on how many questions, okay? So that is going to happen, and then the second week will then, and after each one, after you've done it, then we release the applications to those of you that want it, and you can fill out the applications. We go through it. The training is going to start on September 9th. We train on Saturdays. They're 5.5-hour intensives, And I don't know if she's here. Kimberly, is she in the room? No. But Kimberly Arma is going to be, she's going to be your trainer if you get in there. We can only, because of space and time and all of that, and money, we can only do 15 people, which is hardly enough of what we'd like to train. But if it's something you're interested in doing, let us know. And at that information meeting, you'll learn about what you need to do on that application to really stand out, because you will have a lot of different people that will be putting in applications. Yes?
It's the same session, correct?
Same session. Those are not two different. We're just giving you both options. That's a good question. Yeah, you don't have to go to both sessions. You just have to go to one. Okay, we just know this. Everybody won't be available each day. Yes.
For the Saturday 5-hour training, what time block is that?
It's usually, I think it's going to go 9:30 to 3:30. Okay, 5 days, and it starts on the 9th, and you'll learn all that. The 9th of is it the 8th or the 9th? I can't remember. It's a Saturday. I want to say the 8th. Yeah, it's the 8th of September, and then it ends, I think, the second week in October, because we're going to take off 1 week where you'll be doing shadow teaching, where you're going to get in a classroom and watch a class, just like you did today, watch somebody, but watching them actually in the classroom. Did it do your heart good, by the way, to be able to feel like what the kid is experiencing for a little bit? That really does make a difference. Yes? Well, right now we've been doing it every September, but I thought we're trying to see if we can get other. It's all about funding for us. We're a nonprofit organization. When you do something like this, you're paying for trainers, you're paying for everything that it goes into doing this. So that's what we have. So we've been doing them in the fall because it's the best time to do it, because we can get you into the schools, and we have to get you into the schools. Yes.
Do we have to pre-sign either one of these?
Yes, you need to. You'll get a thing, and it'll click you to an Eventbrite. So yeah, we'll e-blast it at 4, and when you get it, just RSVP on Eventbrite. And I ask you, if you can't do it, let us know, because what happens with the reason why you got the notice you got about it, although we had an incredible amount of people that came today, is that a lot of times people sign, they do not cancel. We're ordering lunches. We're doing all that work, and it could go to the next person, and we're closing them out of going there. So just be aware of that. That's really important to be aware of when you do that. You had your hand up. The same thing about, yeah, they're two different. They're two the same. They're both the same. Anything else? Well, I want to thank you on behalf of the Actors Fund. I want to just sort of say, well, not sort of say, I want to say, I am saying, I don't have to sort of anything, right? I have an imagination. I have an imagination. I have a story. I know all about myself. So I always tell people, one of the things we do at the Actors Fund, you guys are really used to going out and helping other people tell their stories. And we're really about helping you figure out what you want your own story to look like. So this is about finding work that you love to do that will also really juice you up for the other work that you do as an artist. We're not trying to talk you out of being in your business. We're trying to figure out a way that you can flourish. And that's really what we're about. So if you have any questions, we're obviously clearing up and cleaning up. Feel free to ask. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody's questions. We just wanted to be respectful of the time that we have the theater, this beautiful space. How did you like it in this space, by the way? It really feels like you're in a different place, like, for a little while, right? So thank you very much for coming, for taking the time, and network. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask or call us or email us, and we'll respond. Thank you so much. I want to thank my team. By the way, I didn't say this. Thank my team because Ross, Berg, I don't know how I didn't do that. Angelique, she was out there. We had an amazing group of people doing all of this. Dara came over there today. Ross is right there. Ross works with us on this team, okay? So thank you. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, my question to you is, since I have 6 teaching credentials,